Guys, welcome back after that short advert break. Let us now look at what is in store for this lesson. So remember, I've indicated that our topic for today's lesson is packaging. Okay, now there are a few important things that I would like you to take importance of, right? So the first thing here is when investigating the most appropriate way to package boxes or cans. For optimal use of space, we can use one of two ways, right? So the first way is the practical method, using two-dimensional diagrams or 3D models of the scenario to evaluate how many boxes or cans can fit into a space using the length, breadth, heights, and the diameters, right? So that's the practical method. But we also, on the other hand, can use the mathematical method, okay? So how will we do this? Using the volume and surface area, okay? Formulae to analyze the scenario, okay? Remember to always round down, as rounding up would result in the box not fitting the desired space, okay? So important to round down. Then, when analyzing the best packaging arrangement, right, and material, always keep the following in mind: practicality, the optimal use of space, and the cost effectiveness. Okay, so keep in mind the practicality, optimal use of space, and the cost effectiveness. So that's the three things I would like you to keep in mind. Now let's start with our first question. In question number 1, I've indicated here that Catleo is a tailor, right? He buys rectangular boxes with reels of thread for stitching, okay? Then I've indicated here, carefully study the diagram and answer the question that follows. So there we have the reels of thread, okay, as we can see here. Then there's a box with reels of thread, okay, picture of that. And then when we look on our right-hand side, that's the top view, right, showing the dimensions of the box. So here we have the box which is 195 millimeters by 120 millimeters, okay. So now let's see what we need to answer. The question states here that determine the maximum number of reels of thread that will fit exactly, okay, into the rectangular box that is 120 millimeters wide and 150 millimeters long. Show all your calculations. Very important there. We need to calculate to determine the maximum number of reels of thread that will fit exactly into this rectangular box, and we have to show all our calculation. What else is important here, guys, is that the radius of the cylindrical reel is 1,15 centimeters. Okay, so this is what we are saying, right? The radius there is the reel, so half of that, right, is 1,15 centimeters. Now I want us to first of all note that our dimension or our units for that matter is not the same. Guys, if you look, the radius of the cylindrical rail is indicated in centimeters, right? But when we look at the box, can you see here, the dimension of the box is indicated in millimeters. So what will I first do? I'll convert this to millimeters as well. We know that there's 10 millimeters in a centimeter, so I will say 1,15 multiplied by 10. Okay, so this will then be equals to 11,5, okay? And this will also give us millimeters. But I want you to understand that, remember, we are not going to work with the radius. We need the diameter. What we are saying is, here is our box, so we would like to know how many of these cylindrical reels will fit in here. Can we see? So we need what then? We need from this point all the way to the other of one reel, right? So what do we call that? I agree, that is the diameter. Okay, so therefore I will multiply this by 2 because I need my diameter. Okay, so therefore that will be 23 millimeters. Right, so now I can answer my question. So what will I do now? I will see how many, okay, of these reels can fit along the width of it, of the box, and then I'll see how many of these cylindrical reels can fit along the length or the width of it. Okay, so let's quickly start. So first of all, I'll take the 195 millimeters and I'll divide it by the diameter of 23 millimeters to see how many of these rails can fit like this. Okay, meaning horizontally. So let's type it in, 195 divided by 23. That will give us 8,478 followed by a few other digits here. But remember, we said when we do packaging, it's important for us to round down. So therefore, this will be only 8. Are we clear? Okay. Now we'll see how many of these reels will fit like this. It's important for us to understand what we are calculating, right? Okay. Vertically, basically, in terms of the lengthwise. So therefore, I will take the 120 millimeters and I'll divide that also by the diameter. Remember, it's the same cylindrical reel, right? So that will also be 23 millimeters. So let's quickly type that in. 120 divided by a 23. This will give us an answer of 5,217 followed by a few other numbers, right? Digits. So therefore, remember, I need to round down. So that will give me 5. Guys, are we clear? Okay. So in the end, now I will say then, therefore, to determine the maximum number of reels, right? I'll take my 8 and I multiply that by 5, right? Just to double check, 8 times 5, we all know, that will give us an answer of 40. So therefore, what is the maximum number of reels that can fit into this rectangular box? That will be 40 reels in total. Let me run through this one more time. Guys, remember I said, if you look at it, the unit of your radius is not the same as the unit of the rectangular box, right? We see here we're working with millimeters, here we work with centimeters. So the first thing is I converted my centimeters into millimeters by multiplying that by 10. Then I also indicated that here we gave you the radius, but we needed the diameter. We know diameter is double your radius. So therefore I took the radius, I multiplied that by 2. Ended with 23 millimeters. So then I checked how many of these reels can fit along the length of it, right? So I took the 195 divided by the 23. Okay, as I've indicated, we need this, right? Not the radius only, we need the diameter. So therefore I got an answer of 8,478 followed by a few other digits. I rounded down to 8. Okay, then took the 120 millimeters right here, okay, vertically to see how many will fit in like that. So I took the 120 divided by the 23 millimeters, the diameter of your cylindrical rail. Gave me an answer of 5,217. Again, I rounded down to 5. Thereafter, I said 5 or 8 multiplied by 5, and that gave me an answer of 40 rails. Guys, I hope that's clear to all of you. All right, let's take a quick break. After the advert break, we'll do another sum. See you after the break.